Okay. So we're recording, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's first ever Top of Mind speaker series. So the way that this culminated was midway through last year. I kept hearing everybody who I spoke to saying, I know I need to do networking. I know most of it is wasted effort. I don't know how to do it from a strategic standpoint. And I said, aha, maybe what I should be doing as part of my group and just kind of in general, the people I know, is to bring an expert into the room and share their significant experience around proven best practice with networking, but not just in any old networking, using it to cultivate meaningful relationships that demonstrably lead to an ROI in terms of you getting new clients through referrals. There is nobody, and I mean this sincerely, I've been doing this for 16 years now as a consultant. There's nobody who's in a better position to spend about 35, 40 minutes with you today, sharing depth and breadth of knowledge around how to network specifically to create meaningful business relationships. So I'm thrilled to kick off the inaugural first monthly speaker series, Top of Mind, with Clay, who's many things. For those of you who know him, he's a serial entrepreneur, but in terms of today's presentation, he's the founder of a professional relationship cultivation B2B network platform called H7 Network. And by the way, all of his details for you to follow up will be in the description to this once we put it out on YouTube. He's passionate about empowering entrepreneurs and sales professionals, and he's taught people how to connect, serve, and ask to gain support from their peers. So after conducting over 3,000, that's not a misquote, 3,000 one-on-ones, Clay's developed his 7 laws of word of mouth, and today he's going to share his proven connect, serve, ask methodology for networking success by building meaningful business relationships. Brother, are you ready to rock and roll?
Oh yeah, let's go.
All right, let's dive in the deep end and see if there's water. So listen, you should be able to share your PowerPoint. If not, I'll make you host, but just let me know if you have any technical issues.
Good right now. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to take you through Connect, Serve, and Ask today, but I'm going to share a PowerPoint. I can speak most of it like memorized since I built it, but the what I'm sharing is I want this to land with you guys. Okay. So I'm probably not going to tell you everything that's on the slides, but you guys will have access to them. Okay. What I really like to see is engagement. That's what's most important to me, because then at least I'll know it's landing. That's very important to me.
So it won't bother you if I just ask questions if you titillate me.
No, it doesn't bother me. Every once in a while my ADHD will be awful and I can't re-find where I was at, but other than that, I'm okay. Okay. So kind of a relaxed environment. I like to have a conversation when I'm speaking and stuff, guys. So I also have a tendency to speak louder. I have a tendency to be very energetic, but just that's kind of how I am. So thank you, Ethan, for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to connecting with all of you guys. So if you do want to do one-to-ones and you want to do a real connect, serve, and ask one-to-one so that you actually experience it, I'll throw my scheduling link in the chat box so that we can meet for a one-to-one. All right. All right, here we go. Oh, that's not funny. I didn't have it up right. There it is. Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
It's cool. I find most things humorous.
All right, here we go.
Yes, so we do see the PowerPoint, Clay.
Cool. All right, there we go. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. I will tell you that networking is one thing just from the beginning. You're going to hear me talk about word of mouth marketing. Okay. The average traditional networking group, they talk about networking, there's referrals, there's all these things. Okay. Word of mouth marketing is not exactly the same. So if you find yourself getting lost in what I'm talking about in any way, please stop me and ask me questions. Okay. But the objective from my narrative is word of mouth marketing and being able to create predictable results from it. A few fun facts about myself. I am an author and a speaker. I have many gigs this year. I'm pretty excited about my next gig is Crack the Code in January, where I'm speaking about Connect, Serve, and Ask in a different way. This March will be 17 years that I've been in business, been doing pretty much the same thing, just now we're doing it global. Okay. So Ethan said 3,000 one-to-ones. Actually, 3,000 one-to-ones was where I actually created Connect, Serve, and Ask. I've actually successfully completed over 8,400. Right before Christmas, that's what I hit. Now, here's what makes it unique. Okay. Obviously, you guys know I have a networking group. The 8,400 one-to-ones is with non-members. That's what I calculate. So with complete strangers when I meet them. Okay. Since August of 2014. I am a bourbon and cigar connoisseur. I'm sorry if you guys are, bourbon fans from different states, but I prefer Kentucky, 6 years or older, and I'll drink it. New York has one bottle of bourbon that is sweet. I think some of y'all are from the New York area there. It's called Widow Jane, and that is sweet. I'm so happy that New York has Limestone Rock. That's what I'm liking about it. All right, next up, I'm married with 5 children, and we have one grandson. He is my favorite child, and we have our granddaughter will be here in a few short weeks. She will have to work for Papa's love, though. You know what I mean? She's gonna have to do some work. 3-year-old already beating her to it. Anyway, as a word of mouth marketing specialist, I love what I do. Absolutely love what I do. It's very important. So my purpose in life is to lift others up, develop them, unite them, and take no credit. And I try to do that every single day. And that's what keeps me going, and that's what drives me. My purpose in life is alive and well. I'm going to share a little bit of a story with you. And if you have any questions about that story, please let me know. July of 2021 was a kind of a rough time, right? We was in the middle of a pandemic, or it was coming out of the other side, and the world was opening up and all this stuff. And the pandemic was destructive to my business, just like I'm sure it was to yours. And so anyway, in July of 21, I really needed to figure out a way to grow the community. Okay. Because I started it in June of 20 with the B2B virtual. I already had in person, but we needed to expand because the pandemic was really tough on the in-person experiences, as you guys know. So I went to, during this challenging time, I started doing one-to-ones again. But this time when I started doing them again, I was going to do as many as a human possibly could do. Okay. And so that kind of set off a chain of reaction. So between July 21st and roughly February of 23, I was doing approximately 30 to 33 30-minute one-to-ones with complete strangers weekly. Okay. So when you fast forward to today, we have had visitors from 40 countries. We have members in 20 countries. When it happens to be in the United States, we have members in 48 states. Our virtual community, based on our word of mouth marketing and how we have grown, we went from one virtual B2B meeting in June of 20 per week. That meeting still exists today. That is our hub. And now we have 46 more that are live weekly on top of 25 in our pipeline. So something had to come from all these one-to-ones and all these things I've been doing all my time. So presently, I am now become transformed into a word-of-mouth marketing specialist. I also have a strategy that I deploy, and this is it. So I want to give this to you. You are welcome to write this down, but this is exactly how I did it. I still do it today. Any questions about that? Oh, you're recording it too, aren't you, Ethan? So I guess they don't
I
have to.
am, but that's actually for people outside this meeting. Can I just ask you to clarify when you say we're allowed to borrow your strategy? What specifically is that?
It's 15 plus one-to-ones per week. That's the metric.
So the metric is the measurable output. of
Yeah.
networking activity,
Yeah.
15 one-on-ones per full calendar week.
Yeah, that's what my word of mouth marketing strategy was up until May of this past year, when I started the new strategy of pulling back on as many one-to-ones so I could work with more members because we were expanding too fast, could not keep up with everything. So now I only do about 10, but nonetheless, still happening.
What do you consider an outbound introduction? I'm just like as a
Introducing people to somebody else, Seth. That's all I mean.
right.
Yeah. But I have to say outbound. You know why? Because that's what the measurable is. I'm actually physically making introductions to other people. That's why that exists. If I would have said inbound, that would have been like receiving. You know, that's not part of the strategy. But I will tell you this: for every 3 introductions I make, I get 1 in return, and that referral is solid. So 3 to 1.
Hey, Clay, any advice and counsel to the folks here on how do you educate the folks that you're connected to so they can make more meaningful introductions? Because a lot of times I get introductions that feel like somebody's just doing it to check a box. That the introduction isn't a meaningful fit for me. So kind of how do you coach and advise other people to make more meaningful introductions?
So meaningful introductions means there's a reason why you're making the introduction, and you know why. A healthy practice is to make sure that you communicate why. So in our community, I actually we provide templates that provide that. Now, most people just use their own, which is fine, but they always have templates that they can pull to and bring out and use, and to make that all work. So,
Okay, thank you.
when I mean meaningful, like if I were just to introduce Seth to Mark for the sake of doing it, that would be noticeable. But Ethan, because you're a fractional HR, I would make introductions, meaningful introductions to other fractionals or to your target market that you're asking for, right? Those are both meaningful because you asked for it. There's a lot of people out there that act like connectors and they just flip out all these introductions. And it's like, hey, Ethan, meet Seth. See Seth, meet Ethan. You guys can take it from here. It's like, oh, really? That's cool. Thanks. I'll work 10 times harder to figure that out. It's no big deal. But that is not a good best practice at all. It needs to have something in there that shares why. This number 3 here, schedule a meet with my trusted relationships. Trusted relationships is an actual relationship that I invented. Okay. Most people are familiar with referral partners, like for those that are in BNI and things like that, or been around a long time, similar to that. Referral partners, strategic partners, that's kind of what they all kind of say, most networking groups in general. Champion is a relationship that I actually developed from scratch, and I actually engineered it so that 2 trusted relationships could come together with a proper agenda and a process, methods all in this agenda. So all they have to do is open up doors for each other, and they can do it very predictably.
Hey, Clay, I'm not sure if the talking point aligns with the slide we see. The slide we see says marketing strategy. It sounds like you're talking about metrics. Maybe that's on the next slide or.
No, I just put the metrics instead of the full strategy definition. That's all. I just put the metrics in there. Sorry, I'm a to the point kind of guy. So there we go. All right. So what happens from my strategy? Here's the results. I still receive about 100 introductions per month. I do have 80 plus trusted relationships. Last year in 2024, we actually grew by 17%. So we're still growing. We have 20 on my staff. We have 47 groups. We have 25 groups forming, those kinds of things. It all has to do with trusted relationships.
Hey, Clay, just out of curiosity, if somebody can't say similarly, I have the power of my network, I have these groups, I have these employees, if they're literally a lone wolf, how do they, what's a trusted relationship to somebody who doesn't have the support of a network behind them?
So funny you used the word lone wolf, because that is part of my storyline for the conference in March for our annual conference. Anyway, the definition of a trusted relationship is very simple the way we say it. Anything you ask for, I will deliver. Like if you ask for it, I'm willing to do it. If I ask for it, you are willing to do it. That's in my own words, but yes, nonetheless. Just want to share the difference between referral marketing and word of mouth marketing. I told you word of mouth marketing is a little different. Referral marketing is showing your clients who you are, and they they refer you. Word of mouth marketing is showing professionals who you are and they endorse you. Looks like I have a little bit of an issue there. I mistyped something there. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. So what we're going to move to is connect, serve, and ask. Now, connect, serve, and ask originates as a methodology that helps two people to earn trust. It literally bends the relationship building process. Connect, serve, and ask at its core, that's what it does. The average person builds relationships in this way: like, know, then trust. Connect, serve, and ask flips that switch to its earn trust so that like and know follow. When you do that, you stay out of the friend zone. You know, have you ever had networking friends that are like friendly with you and stuff, but they never seem to help you?
Always.
Do this kind of party and stuff, whatever, have a drink or whatever, but they never say, hey, Jared, I got this referral for you. That's called being friend zoned.
Yeah.
So my brand of word of mouth marketing and networking, generally speaking, is about being very intentional around how we build relationships. And like, know, and trust is fine. That phrase has been coined for years, and it's correct. All three of those pieces have to be in that place, but it's not the same order for connect, serve, and ask. All right, so we connect first, we serve intentionally, and we ask consciously. Common misconceptions about one-to-ones: purely transactional. If you joined a networking group to sell to the room because you got your prospect in that room, that's the wrong reason. So always be joining groups because they have like-minded people like you that can open up doors to sell through the room, not to the room.
How do you know who's like-minded?
Well, you have to do your one-to-ones, but think like you're a fractional CHRO. Well, you should be around other fracs. So if you belong to a group where there's no fractionals, no other fractionals in it, you're already hitting a glass ceiling that you don't even see. That's how you know. About 40% of our community, I know one of you guys are in BNI, so I kind of share this little fun fact. About 40% of our community have BNI members in it. Now, we're not blacklisted because we're very complimentary. So the reason that that's happening is because in a BNI group, they may only have a couple B2B folks in it. So you go from a meeting where it's mostly B2C or whatever, and then you come into our meetings where there's about 20 people and it's all B2B. So that's the reason why the glass ceiling exists, because you want to make sure you're around the right people so you can sell through the room, not to it. Also, just so you know, one-to-one does not make somebody qualified as a trusted relationship. Whoops. All right, mindset required for connect, serve, and ask. When I get into the one-to-one, my focus is earning trust. That's the number one. Number two is being strategic around your ask. And number three, embrace a growth mindset. Let's stop there. Anybody have any questions? Only Ethan so far, to make sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up and let anybody else ask questions, but I got a ton of them.
Clay, just a quick question. You were talking about the friend zone, and maybe you're talking about it now, but like, what's sort of the key to not have that kind of relationship?
This is going to come across really funky, Mark, so get ready. When you're focusing on earning trust, you're not sitting there having a casual conversation with somebody brand new about who their favorite football team is, their hobbies only. Lots of one-to-ones end up being curated around, let's get to know each other and see if we like each other, and then we'll worry about trust later. Trust needs to be in the very first, trust earning opportunities need to be in the very first one-to-one that you do. Every time. That will mitigate that problem because you've already broke the ice to help each other.
What would be a practical application of that, like during an initial one-on-one where you're getting to know the person, you're discovering you have shared interests, but what might be something you could do
Right here, it's on the screen.
to build trust?
It's on the
How
screen.
can I help you? Who'd you like to meet? Yep.
Yeah, but here's the secret to it, guys. Okay. So, see, here are the questions that help you earn trust. And some people look at this and they say, well, of course I say that. Of course I do that. Thank you for the refresher. I bet. And I say I bet because most of the people that I've had massive amount of experience. And so up until I started really honing in that connect, serve, and ask skill inside of the one-to-ones, how can I help you was always at the end of the one-to-one. Isn't that where it's at a lot? Like, oh, we just got a few minutes left. Ethan, how can I help you? You got to move that up to halfway through your one-to-one. That's what serving is. That's what helps you. You reverse it. That's what changes the game. So you got to connect with each other, right? And we'll go back to that connect in a second. But the point is you can't really serve until you connect. But if you're not intentional around trying to earn somebody else's trust in that one-to-one, probably not earning any.
Okay, so Clay, you're just so the getting to know and like Ethan said, finding like interest, that's important, but it's not too early to say, how can I help you after you've kind of built that little bit of camaraderie, so to speak.
Yeah, think of it like you've learned a little bit more about each other and what you do. Let's go. Like that's kind of what you're looking for. Now, I always say, like in my Connect, Serve, and Ask training, so our members get to take the course, which is obviously a little bit more in depth than this. And so, Mark, in the course, the serve, you have to be very intentional about taking the action. You know, you got to find the spot in the one-to-one to communicate at that point, right? And so, I always watch the time on my clocks and stuff, you know, in my one-to-ones. And a long time ago, when I only did 1 hour one-to-ones, like seems like light years ago now, but anyway, 5 or 7 years ago, I would look at I'd have my phone on the table and I'd look at the time. And then they say, "Oh, you got to go." I say, "No, no, no. How can I help you?" And then I would take back control of the conversation. So you really got to be active listening. That's the secret to it. To know when to move, when to make that decision to say, "Hey, you know, Jared, how can I help you? Who are you looking to meet with?" Any other questions? Is everybody getting value out of this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So strategically connect to serve, active listening, being relatable. Have you ever been in a one-to-one where, you know, you're talking about your business and the other person starts talking about something totally different and all personal? Be relatable. Like when you're connecting, you should be back and forth, back and forth. Oh, I'm from Dayton. Mark, you're from New Jersey, I believe. Anyway, and you know, okay, cool. So tell me your story. I'm going to share a little bit of mine, right? So communication needs to somehow be relatable, making sure that you're watching that. Like, for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you're meeting with a salesperson, they may not want to know all of your story because they can't relate. Go ahead, Ethan.
No, I love that comparison of somebody with a sales mindset and somebody who's an entrepreneur may have entirely different, they're hardwired differently. So I guess to my question is, before you even have the one-to-one, how do you advise people to the extent that they can to prepare enough so that they don't sound like a complete moron when they get on the one-on-one? Because I've literally gotten to the point now, because it happens to me so much, I will stop somebody and I'll say, "Do you know anything about me?"
Yeah.
I will literally say that because I've done my due diligence. So how do you kind of talk that through your model?
Yeah, I close that off because I'm going to show you something. When people are seated, and maybe the other person is standing, that's going to give off a certain energy, right? They're going to have a little bit more energy than the person seated. So what I always share is a stand up. Because let me tell you, When you're standing up and you're being confident in your speak and you're not, lackadaisical and you're being much more focused. I'm sure Peter and Mark would share that I was standing up when I met with them. Without a doubt, that's all on purpose. You know how often I get pitch slapped? Not often at all. Because it prevents it. It just lets that person know, like, hey, I mean business. We're here to get to know each other. Like, just calm down.
Yeah.
That's a little secret there. Sorry. Hope that was a benefit to everybody. We had a member that was a woman. She asked to meet with me this past year. So I met with her and she's like, oh my gosh, I keep getting pitch slapped. Well, first of all, if the other person is communicating fast, it doesn't mean that they're pitch slapping. If they know how to communicate and you don't, doesn't mean that they're pitch slapping. So you got to remember that. But if you're not managing the conversation very well, you're not asking and you're not stepping into the conversation, sure. So we met and we talked and she was telling me she felt that way. And I'm like, oh, okay. Stand up, please. I said, do you have a riser on your desk? And she said, yes. And so let's try it. 12 months later, not one more pitch slap. Gone. It's just natural for us to, like, if somebody's being very passive, if the other person is more of a normally an aggressor, normally very like myself, like very high energy, or know what they want out of life, and they're like, know why they're here and all that stuff, like they're gonna potentially hurt the other person. I just happen to have empathy and recognize body language, so I can pull back. That's the only difference. Any other questions while I got the screen off?
Hey,
Jared,
Clay, just a quick question about the makeup. It sounds like you've got a lot of different networking groups underneath you. Like, how are they structured? Like, are there certain topics, certain industries? Like, what is the makeup of the structure?
the meeting structure or the community structure?
The community structure, yeah.
Yeah, so start here. So we charge a membership fee of $5.99 a year. That member gets access to all 47 weekly meetings plus the 25 coming on. They can meet all the B2B professionals they want when they want. That also includes 5 hours of word of mouth marketing training. So then when you come in, a lot of process, a lot of stuff going on inside, so you can kind of start steering your way through to, I just had a new member this week, Tim, just scheduled for the next like 10 meetings in a row. Not the same 10 meetings, 10 different ones. And I'm like, oh, I hope he makes it through. Because in our community, if you're there, the objective of all of our meetings is that you walk away with a meaningful connection to your ask. He could end up with freaking 50, 60, 70 one-to-ones by the time he gets through that whole thing, that gauntlet. Because every time he goes out, people want to meet. He's communicating. He's going through the meeting structure. He's going to get a lot of attention very fast. So we try to encourage people to only do 5 to 7 one-to-ones a week to get started. Make sure you take some of the training. It's all included. That way you can partner your trip with that training and start applying what you learn.
Do you have a list of members that we could take a look to see what the types of folks are?
I'll tell you, it's real easy. So there's over 1,000 B2B members across 48 states and 20 countries. 70% of them are executive coaches, consultants, or fractional C-level. The rest are B2B, like HR services, payroll, web design. Got over 100 different marketing members that from I'll come to you in video to you send me to the video and I'll edit your video, like all that B2B stuff. Yeah. But you can go out there. It's just, it wouldn't be as easy for you to like recognize that very quick because we also have in-person members too and an in-person side to us. So that's where you're going to find insurance companies, financial advisors, real estate agents, mortgage brokers. So as you're looking, it will just cloud your view. So that's why we keep that number on hand and keep it up to fresh. Go ahead, Ethan.
Hey, Clay, thank you. I have a question for you that I still can't figure out in my head how to coach people around.
Yeah.
the biggest, I guess, challenge I'm hearing from people is I'm doing all this networking. I'm always going from meeting to meeting. I'm so busy with networking, and I don't know how to make it work for me. And I guess my question is, what do you see just in the aggregate are some of the biggest mistakes, or what do you think is the biggest success story? Because I'm struggling with talking people through how to be strategic about it. Like they don't seem to internalize that they shouldn't just, more is not better.
So can you bring a little more clarity to your question, please? Just, I want to make sure I get that right. So please repeat it and maybe say it a little differently this time, maybe.
No. Yeah, absolutely. People are just, they're mistakenly being busy with their networking, but they're not strategic. They, like, if I ask them, I want you to write down and send me your ideal referral partner profile or your ideal client profile, they go, it's in my head. I'm
Yeah,
like,
most
how
people
are
don't
you
know.
educating people to what you're looking for? So you have an ask, right? But they don't even know how to articulate to somebody else, this is what I do and this is my ask.
So yeah, so in our Activate workshop, I walk people through the exact techniques. There's about 5 of them inside of the ask alone. And so it's from making sure when you ask somebody, you're asking for industry, not for what you normally ask for. Throw that stuff away. It's mostly tougher that way when somebody talks about their request. Traditionally speaking, most people will talk about a problem they solve when they say their request instead of saying, you know, coaches. And so then on top of that, they like to say why. It's really just an insecurity problem around being able to communicate everything and not miss out. So it's kind of a FOMO thing. So they just keep talking and talking and talking, and they destroy what's going on in front of them. Instead, I train people on how to communicate more engaging so that the other person is asking questions and all that good stuff. But remember this, guys, because we're almost done in a few minutes or whatever, 10 minutes. Take this with you. When you go to ask for something, anytime somebody asks you what you're looking for, and that's a newer relationship, I don't care if you've met 10 times, 5 times in meetings, in passing, I don't care. Industry only. And don't say why. Don't worry, I get the same look in Activate's training itself. I get it all the time. People have literally, it caused arguments. People tell me how, no, specific is terrific. You have to ask this way. And I'm like, really? You've been doing that for 25 years? That's wrong. And I say that confidently because I know it's wrong. Because the only way that works is if you already have an active relationship with that person to be able to get that detail oriented around your request. I know that for a fact. So when you barely know somebody, you got to make it easier on them to help you. That's what you're doing it for. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for them. That's the secret to it. By the way, Jared, we've met too. We've done a one-on-one too, I think. Or we came to H7 once.
I'm not sure, actually.
Are you in
But
New York City?
I am New Jersey based. Yeah.
Okay, I swear I think you came to me or something. I've seen your face before.
Why do you think it's appropriate when somebody asks you if you're from New York City to say, yeah, I'm from Jersey?
I kind of bounce back. We have a city office. We're close enough to it. I kind of bounce back and forth, so I can kind of be wherever you need me to be.
I hear that all the time too, Seth. I'm not even from there. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, guys. That's where I live. So go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so Clay, when people ask me, who I want to meet, and I'll say I want to meet a small business owner who's looking to reclaim time, who's kind of fed up doing the bookkeeping. I just need to add, I want to meet a small business owner in the construction industry. Is that
I would say construction, decision maker in construction, roofing, name the trade, cut everything else out. Because as soon as you say small business owner, that in everybody's brain, we already now know what a small business owner is, isn't it? Don't we? Except we don't. It's all different for everybody. I think of a small business owner that does $1 million or less. But then I meet with all these corporate folks that have come out, and I don't have any experience in corporate America. They're like, no, small business is up to 50 million. Well, then I don't know what small business means then. Okay, so we're just going to do that differently. So you want to leave out small business, big business, medium-sized business. You want to leave out how many employees they have. Just leave it out. You want to leave out how much revenue they do. Just leave it out. Here's what's really happening, Mark. When you include like revenue, small business, you're putting too much on the other person by inadvertently, they're now thinking about what you're saying. And so the only people that are going to pop in their mind are the people that they can picture. If they can't picture it, you're dead. Now, as you get to know each other, they'll learn more tighter details around your ICP. You know, all of that. You gotta kind of let that play out. So making it easier on others to help you gives them a chance to earn your trust. When you ask for small business, you take that power away. They cannot earn your trust because they cannot help you. They can't take action on it. So that's why.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, on my end, Clay, I mean, I'm in the logistics business and we provide complete logistics consulting services, you know. And so people ask me what size, and I've gotten into the habit of just saying, as long as they ship products, if they ship anything, I'll talk to them. It doesn't cost me anything to have a conversation. That's like sort of the approach that I've started to take for that reason,
Good.
because there's
Mhm.
sometimes we can help really small companies as well. And we help startups, everything up to hundreds of billions of dollars, you know, a year sales companies. So that's sort of the approach that I've started to take. Just as long as they ship something, let me have a conversation.
Well, see, that's wise, Tim, because here's why. You have actually more control over your funnel. You're not giving all that power away to Seth. Well, if Seth has all the power to make that introduction, you got to wait until Seth is exactly at the company when they say, "Oh, you got 45 employees? Oh, would you like to meet Tim?" Because they finally heard the number. You know, so you alleviate all of that and you dismiss all of it because of it. And you just clean up all that muck. And
But
then
I'm doing something right.
you're doing exactly right. I always ask for fractionals. Always. And so, because I know what I'm going to do with them. I have 3 things that I will do with them at any given time in my ask when it's time to ask. So you should be more prepared, show up prepared, right? We all should do that. Know what we're looking for. So good job on that, Tim. Other questions? Anybody having any issues with that request thing? Any controversy? Any controversy? Sometimes that comes up.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Could you give an example of controversy around a request?
I've been doing it this way the whole time. That this is the way that it works. Really? Why are you in this class then? Why'd you come to H7 then if that request seemed to work so well for you? Right? That's a controversy. They're like, industry, that's too vague. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just pick one. You can change it every day, every hour, every 30 minutes, every time you meet with somebody different.
Clay, you kind of, I guess, sort of touched on the question I was going to ask. Like where we work, we're pretty industry agnostic. We work with a bunch of different. Would it make more sense to almost say 2 to 3? Like if they ask, say, I'll do construction, this, that, or just
Always
kind of
three.
always. Okay.
Always 3. Always show up prepared for the meeting and the one-to-one with 3. Now, what makes it even more fun, Jared, is because you are agnostic. If you just prep a little bit before you get into your one-to-one and you look and you say, okay, Seth is a real estate attorney. Okay. How do my markets match up with his? Let me go look to his LinkedIn. Okay. He works with corporations, like big corporations. Okay. Well, I better ask for a big corporation, not a small IT company. Right. That's a simple little trick to prep. So then when you get into the call and you're doing that one-to-one, your ask is relative to him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. By the way, about 90% of our community is agnostic. That's the other controversial part. I'm agnostic. I can work with it. Of course you can. I'm not saying you can't. It's just how they hear it. That's the other controversy.
Yeah, I mean, I love the advice. And first of all, just to let everybody know, as we kind of go a little bit over our time commitment, that's fine. But just as we wrap up, any last questions for Clay? Be sure to ask it. I'll send everybody Clay's contact details. But I got a question for you, Clay, getting to exactly what you just said, right? Most people want to go hunting with Dick Cheney and a shotgun, right? They don't want to use a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
They're afraid of inadvertently limiting potential business deal flow. They'll say, that's why they say small to mid-sized business or 5 to 50 million. We're agnostic because they don't want to, miss that construction or roofing opportunity. So they'll broaden it. It's very clear to me that you're saying one of the strongest pieces of advice you give is give somebody that sniper rifle to help you find that client. Like you're saying, the more specific, the less heavy lifting I'm making Seth or Jared do for me. I'm saying, here's exactly what I'm looking for. They may not know it, but I can change that up. That's, I think, what Jared was asking.
100%. And you don't, now there are some networking groups that like they have, they might not shift up their ask very much because they're always kind of agnostic and visual in general. So they may not have to say the industry. Well, if you meet with the same 20 people every single week, whatever that is, whatever group that is, I mean, you're doing your one-to-ones, they're going to learn. Eventually that will pay off. That strategy eventually will pay off. But if you're meeting a lot of new people, that strategy doesn't pay anything. It just doesn't. It literally costs you money. And now I know that we only got 1 minute before I'm supposed to be done. I did put my scheduling link in the chat box, guys. So if you want to do a one-to-one, if you want to meet, if you want help with what I said, we went way off script on the presentation. I'm cool with that. If you guys are cool with that, did you get value from it? From the meeting anyway?
Yep.
Want to make sure.
Totally.
So just to honor the time, as Clay said, you've got a way to reach him directly for the schedule, and I'll also send contact details. Any last questions before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Not a question, but thank you so much. That was really great, Clay.
My pleasure, Seth. Thank you.
Do you stand for every single meeting and do you get tired?
Good question. So first time I meet somebody, I'm always standing. Second time I won't. Yeah. Second time I won't. Because I know it's better for them too. Like the first time I meet them when I'm standing up, I'm thinking clearer on my feet, all that stuff, so I can actually picture things faster and move faster, decide faster because I'm standing up.
Man, I can vouch for that, having had many conversations with you, Clay. So look, everybody, thank you for showing up. I know how busy your time is. I hope you, as Clay said, you took away 1 or 2 immediately actionable tactics. Clay, thanks for your counsel and your insight gained over decades doing this. Brother, really appreciate you. Thank you for your time, and we'll just wrap it up there.
My pleasure. If you ever want me to come back